I'm trying to help deal with the illegal immigration problem. I want to help ICE more, not less. Sounds like a Democrat. So I wanted to make Medicaid sustainable. We increased Medicaid spending 50% in 5 years. President Obama put people on Medicaid that were able-bodied. I made sure we had a work requirement. If you're going to get government help and you can work, you should work. So to the Democratic narrative that there's something wrong with what President's trying to do, Trump, in regarding immigration reform, I disagree. We have a program called 287G where local law enforcement can work with ICE to help with illegal immigration. I want to be the most friendly state in the nation to ICE in helping deal with the illegal immigration problem. I'm a big fan of legal immigration, so to my Democratic friends, you created this mess, we're going to clean it up.
But on the economy, and sometimes it's some of your conservative friends who say, look, people need jobs, especially in this area, in the PD, along the Grand Strand.
Yeah.
People need jobs, job security, people need money, people need better health care. What do you say to, you being so laser focused on the president's goal of immigration reform? Are you losing sight of people need money in their pockets? They need jobs. We just had a job report that was less than stellar. They had to revise the previous job reports. I know the president didn't like those numbers, but numbers are numbers. So
can I
say what to that?
Sure. If you don't have a job in South Carolina and able-bodied, you don't want a job. I can get you a job in 5. If you're in Myrtle Beach and you need a job, we'll get you a job. So you're not going to convince me that there are not jobs available if you're willing to work. So what did the bill do that we just passed? I'm the budget chairman. I got the bill out of the budget committee. It's the largest tax cut in American history. So if you're a family of 4 in South Carolina, because we did not let the tax cuts expire in December, you're going to be $2,800 better off. Child tax credits go up for working families. If you're a business person trying to develop property in Horry County, you're going to have a tax code that rewards investing and creating new jobs. The largest tax cut in American history. We had the largest spending reduction in American history in the One Big Beautiful Bill. So what would I say? I would say I led the effort to make sure it became law. I led the effort in the Senate to make sure the tax cuts were permanent that will help working families. So if you're a working family out there, this bill is good for you. If you're trying to develop, start a new business, this bill is good for you.
You know as well as anyone that here along the Grand Strand, Myrtle Beach, on up and down the coast, tourism is king.
Yeah.
We saw fewer Canadian tourists this season by quite a bit. We saw hotel bookings in the week leading up to the 4th of July down roughly about 8%.
Yeah.
There are many possible reasons for that, including tariffs and the economy showing signs of trouble. Do you believe the economy is showing signs of trouble, and what would you say to local business owners and employees who depend on these tourism dollars?
Well, number one, I think I've been the best friend of the Grand Strand in terms of keeping the cash cow running for the rest of the state. I live in Seneca. I used to come here on vacation as a kid. My family worked in the textile plants and my dad owned a restaurant and a bar. I'm very familiar with this part of South Carolina. That's why when you had the fire problem, I made sure you got a fire grant. The beaches need to be renourished. So I tell anybody from Seneca, money spent on roads and water and sewer in Myrtle Beach helps you, because the Grand Strand area sends more money into the state coffers than probably any place in the state. So I want to make sure you have what you need. You have the water, the sewer, the beaches are renourished. Work on I-77, that's a big deal for me. So the bottom line for me is Canada, I think has had unfair trade practices when it comes to lumber and other things. We'll get a deal eventually with Canada, and I think we'll get past the dust up, but I appreciate what President Trump's trying to do. If you've been ripping us off for all these years, he's going to make you pay a price. We just did a deal with the European Union. We have a lot of Europeans come to South Carolina. We have a lot of Europeans come to Myrtle Beach. We got a deal with Europe I never dreamed was possible. we've opened up their energy markets to us. They're buying our oil and gas, which means they depend less on Russia, and it's good for our economy. So there's a 19% tariff on all products coming into America. Will help us retire our debt problems, and without a reciprocal tariff for American products going to Europe. I think President Trump's going to get a lot of trade deals that will be beneficial. In terms of a tourism economy, what you need to do is stay ahead of the problem. You need to make sure you have the best beaches, you have sewer and water sufficient to the demand, that the roads work, that you can get from one end of the beach to the other in the same day you left. That's why I-73 is very important. How do you draw people off 95 that want to get here? Open up arteries. Money spent down here on roads and bridges and water and sewer and upgrading the infrastructure is a good investment for South Carolina. So I'm really into that. Our problems with Canada will pass, and we'll have a better access to their economy.
But to those business owners who say, while we are waiting to see if it turns out the way you and the administration think that it's going to turn out, I can't go another season with seeing numbers low like what I saw this summer. So the businesses who say that and say, if it happens again next summer, I'm out of business, you say what to them?
I don't buy the premise that our dispute with Canada is going to shut down the coast of South Carolina.
Well, but not just Canada, tourism in general. Because that number about the 4th of July week being down almost 10%, hotel bookings, that's not just a Canada thing. That's a economy trouble, people not coming here and spending extra money. So you say what if
I say that the Biden 4 years was a disaster, and it's going to take more than 6 months to fix it. During Biden's 4 years, we had 11 million people come to this country legally. In 6 months, President Trump's got it down to almost zero. That the Biden regulation of our economy made it hard to create a job. The one big beautiful bill is good for families, it's good for business investment. You're going to see a benefit from this, but what President Trump inherited, wars everywhere. He's about, hopefully can end this war with Russia and Ukraine, do it in a way that doesn't entice China to take Taiwan. We're trying to help our friends in the Mideast. Yeah, I'm very bullish about where we're going. I've never been more optimistic about the future of America than I am right now. I think this bill that we passed, giving certainty to businesses regarding their taxes, increasing child tax credits to give more family income, will benefit everybody.
J-1 visa holders, they prop up the economy here.
Yeah, they're very important.
They're very important.
I agree with that.
I have heard concerns that the administration's immigration policies may jeopardize the number of foreign students who can come here and who choose to come here to work. How do you address that?
There's concerns about people coming from foreign countries on education visas that have pretty unhealthy attitudes about America. The J-1 visa allows companies here to hire young people, mostly from overseas, to come experience America and help their business. Now, you can only use that visa when you can't find local help. I'm not for any visa that would displace an American worker. But the J-1 visa program is very important to the tourism economy of Horry County, and I'll make sure that is well protected. These are young people from Europe throughout the world that come here and work, supplement local businesses to help the business, not deprive an American of a job. So that's the kind of immigration I'm looking for, helping businesses in America find workers when they can't find them here. And you can't hire a foreign worker until you first look for an American worker. But the J-1 visa program is great. But some of these folks that come in on, education visas that have very anti-American views, kick them out.
Okay. Senator, I want to get some news of the day.
Okay.
European leaders are joining President Zelensky of Ukraine in D.C. today. They are meeting with the president. They sort of jumped on this meeting at the last minute. Pretty rare for that many of them to show up in D.C. What is your message to those leaders as the Trump administration tries to work all of this out?
We're one team. We have the same goal. From day one, I've been in Ukraine's camp. What's the right answer when somebody invades your country? You fight back. We've been involved in Iraq and Afghanistan and sometimes not had the best partners. We haven't lost one soldier in Ukraine. They're not asking for American soldiers. They just need our help in terms of weapons, and we're selling weapons, not giving weapons to Ukraine. Europe is buying those weapons, which helps our economy. But the European leaders are over here to show resolve. I think the best thing we can do for the 21st century is not let people like Putin get away with taking land of others by military force. China is watching. So if you don't think this matters to you, you're making a mistake. I think it does matter. We've had a war where 1 million people have been killed or injured, and that's not good. An unstable Europe is not good. Taking land of others by force of arms, look what happened in the 30s when we let Hitler run wild. We're going to stop Putin, we're going to stop him in Ukraine, and the Europeans are over here to work with President Trump to give security guarantees to avoid a third invasion. Now, you're not going to evict every soldier, Russian soldier, from Ukraine. That's the reality. But I don't want to overly reward Putin. So what's this meeting about? It's for America, Europe, and Ukraine to come up with a security arrangement that would prevent a third invasion.
You say taking land by force. Well, would you concede to what the White House has floated? We've heard that the president of Russia wants some land.
Yes.
It would be better worked out in an agreement, is what
Yes.
you're saying?
So here's the dilemma. There are parts of 80% of Ukraine is still totally intact. Russia's occupied about 20%. They're losing almost 1 million soldiers killed or wounded, and Putin could care less, but it's really putting a burden on the Russian people. So let Ukraine decide what land exchanges hands, not us. Create conditions to find a solution. We had East Germany and West Germany for a long time. We never recognized East Germany, but it was in the hands of the Soviets. Now you have a unified Germany. So I'm a realistic person. I would recognize the fact that the Russians control this part of Ukraine, but I don't want to give them title. And maybe one day somebody after Putin will come along that we can do business with. I want this war to end. President Trump is right to end it. You got to deal with Putin. I'm not out to humiliate him. I don't think Ukraine needs to be in NATO. I think there will be some land swaps. But what I want to make sure of is this doesn't happen again. In 2014, they took Crimea and Obama did nothing about it. In 2022, they invaded. I begged Biden to tell Russia, don't do it. Send arms before the invasion. Tell the Russians, we'll crush your economy if you invade. He didn't want to do either one of those. So Trump is very insistent on making sure the war ends forever. And why are the Europeans here? To give security guarantees that did not exist before. I want to do the opposite of what Obama and Biden did. I want to make sure that Putin never does this again by giving security guarantees to Ukraine, where the Europeans are out front and we have their back.
One more question on
Yes, sir.
Ukraine. You're floating a bipartisan bill that could designate Russia
Good question.
as a state sponsor of
Yeah.
terrorism.
Yeah.
So, and this is over the kidnapping of Ukrainian children.
Yeah.
Have you gotten any pushback from the Trump administration on that as they try to work out a deal that could make Vladimir Putin feel some type of way about that?
Okay, I'm going to ask a question to the people watching this show. What is the right answer when somebody kidnaps children from another country? There are over 19,000, we believe, Ukrainian children that were in areas occupied by Russia that have been taken from Ukraine to Russia, separated from their families. The Germans did this in World War II with Polish kids. That's horrible. I'm going to fight to make sure those kids come back to their families and not let this go unaddressed. So I think to end this war, you got to deal with the kids. And here's what I'm going to tell Putin. If we don't get this fixed, I'm going to lead the effort to make you a state sponsor of terrorism under U.S. law, which makes your economy radioactive. I'm giving a tool to President Trump. It's my bill that has 85 co-sponsors allowing tariffs on countries that buy Russian oil and gas. All the money that Putin uses to fund his war comes from Russian oil and gas sales. Go after China, India, and Brazil and say, if you keep propping this war machine up, we're going to put tariffs on you. Why did he go to Alaska, Putin? Because Trump put a 50% tariff on India for buying cheap Russian oil. Well, I want to go to the children. I want to make sure that these children come home to their families and not held captive in Russia.
Senator, and this next question, I want to preface this by saying
Yeah.
this is not a snarky question,
Yeah,
but
sorry.
based on what you said, I have to ask. So the president has said he's declared a war on illegal immigration in this
Yeah.
country. Under the same premise of war, will you fight to make sure that immigrant children in this country who have been separated from their families will be reconnected with their families, just like you said you would do that for Ukraine?
Yeah, I think that's a real problem. During the Biden, we think there may be tens of thousands of unaccompanied children.
And during the Trump administration too. I heard you say Biden.
Yeah, but
This
no,
administration, too.
there's been really almost no illegal immigration in the last 6 months. It's down to virtually zero, which is amazing. But their children that came here unaccompanied dropped off with a note. I'd like to reunite them with their families. Yes, I would like to do that.
What about the ones who came here with their parents and ICE agents have taken their parents and they're off somewhere
Well,
else?
when you're here illegally,
Mhm.
we're not going to change the law because there are people in jail today with kids. We don't let parents commit crimes because they have kids. So if you came here illegally and you brought your kids, we're going to enforce the law. Don't come here illegally and bring your kids. You know, we're not going to play that game. There are people in jails today, American citizens, who have kids. Well, they go to jail for something they did wrong, and we'll all try to help the kids. Listen, I'm for legal immigration reform. I want to find a win-win solution. Illegal immigration is terrible. The young kids coming here are getting raped and abused. Let's cut that off. Let's cut the cartels off. And Trump is vowing to use military force if he has to stop poisoning of America coming from Mexico and drug cartels. This part of South Carolina, fentanyl is a real problem here. And so I'm all for cleaning up the immigration mess, and I'm all for being tough on drug cartels. And I got President Trump's back.
Okay, speaking of being tough, Israel.
Yeah.
You know, we've been talking ceasefire agreement.
Yeah.
You've recently come out and said, look, really the only way this ends is for Israel to go in.
Yeah, I think so,
aggressively and take
unfortunately,
Gaza.
yeah. So I would expect, unless there's some breakthrough, and I hope there would be, about the hostages, that Israel's going to do to the remaining part of Hamas what we did to Tokyo and Berlin and war. They're going to take it. They can't live with Hamas on their borders. Hamas has to go. I would hope they lay down their arms and they would voluntarily leave. That would end the war in 1 minute, but they're not going to do it. So Israel's in a bind. I hate to see pictures of kids being hurt, but I blame Hamas, not Israel. And we didn't feed the Germans and the Japanese in World War II, but I do want to help feed the Palestinians that are sort of caught in the middle of this. But I want Israel to finish Hamas off. And during the Biden years, I made 8 trips to Saudi Arabia and Jerusalem trying to find a way to get Saudi Arabia to recognize Israel and end the Arab-Israeli conflict. We almost were there, then came October the 7th.
There are some who would say that Benjamin Netanyahu has shown no signs of caring about the humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
I
So
think,
what steps
yeah.
would you take to assure that if they did seize it and they then are responsible for the Palestinians,
Yeah.
that he would pay attention and care about
Yeah.
their needs and not continue to kill more Palestinians?
No way Israel can run Gaza or the West Bank. They will be seen as occupiers. There's no way America is going to take over Gaza. Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates are 2 rich Gulf Arab countries. They need to do for Gaza and the West Bank what we did for Germany and Japan after the war. Help rebuild the place. Replace the education system that teaches killing all the Jews. De-radicalize the population, demilitarize the situation, and give Israel the security they need and demand, and find a better life for the Palestinians. If the Arabs don't take over and offer a hopeful life, then Hamas will come back. So I've been saying for 2 years now, the day after has to be the Arabs coming in and taking over Gaza and the West Bank, reforming the corrupt nature of the PA, giving a Palestinian child something to live for and not die for. That can only happen when Hamas has been eradicated. I think we're getting close. I've got Israel's back. God blesses those who bless Israel. I want to have their back, but Bibi says we don't want to keep the place. He knows he can't keep the place. Israel made peace with 7 Arab nations when President Trump was president the first time, the Abraham Accords. What have we learned? Hamas doesn't want to make peace. They're terrorists. Hezbollah doesn't want to make peace. But I think a lot of people in the region do want to make peace. Look at what Saudi Arabia is trying to do to modernize their country. But the United Arab Emirates now has an agreement with Israel. 7 Arab nations recognize Israel on President Trump's watch the first time around. The big prize for us as a world is for Saudi Arabia and Israel to recognize each other and to end a thousands-of-year-old conflict, the Arab-Israeli conflict. I'm going to be part of that. I think President Trump's the right guy to do that. I'm going to be helping you renourish your beaches and get I-77 done here, but I'm also going to be trying to help President Trump end a 1,000-year conflict between the Arabs and the Jews, which makes us all safer. That's why I like this job so much. One day you're talking about Aner, and the next day you're in Jerusalem. It's a fun job. The people of this state have been good to me, and I've tried to be good to them. This part of the state is special. I say this in Seneca. You know, infrastructure money spent on the Grand Strand, you get your money back by a lot. I follow the revenue collections. When you look at sales tax collections, this part of the state hits well above its weight. So I'll never lose sight of what you need to help the rest of us.
Are we going to get that I-77?
I'm meeting tomorrow about that. Yeah, this is hard. It took me forever to get that port deepened from 46 feet to 52 feet. In Charleston, that benefits the entire economy. It's probably the crown jewel of our economy is the port in Charleston, a lot of business there. But this is a cash cow for the state, this part of the state, the Grand Strand. Why do we need I-73? It allows traffic to come off 95 more orderly. It creates a way to get off the coast if there's a hurricane. I look at this place as almost clogged arteries. We need to open up more ways to get in and out, get across from one side, 22 has been great, to the other. I want to make it easier to come to Myrtle Beach. I want to make it easier to live here in Myrtle Beach. That's why I helped the airport. A lot of people fly in, but still most people drive it.
One more question.
Yeah.
Some more news of the day. The Democrats are back in Texas.
Okay.
There has been talk, particularly from gubernatorial candidate Ralph Norman. He says that South Carolina should redistrict. Do you think that this?
I'll leave that up to the State House, but there's Supreme Court decisions out there about redistricting. We have 30% of the state is African American. We have one congressman, Jim Clyburn, African American. I think it'd be hard, quite frankly, under the Supreme Court rules to do that, but I'll leave that up to South Carolina. I know what Illinois did. I know what California did. I see what Texas is trying to do. We'll let them work all that out. I am trying to stay focused on ending this war in Russia, Ukraine, being a good ally to the President Trump, keep the economy humming and create infrastructure we need. So, you know, we got a lot of problems here, but here's what I would end on. There's no problem we can't solve if we work together. And I do two things, I think. I think I'm a solid conservative, very good conservative, pro-life, unashamedly pro-life, pro-business. But I also will work the other side when it makes sense. We almost lost the Port of Charleston because we had no money in the budget to do a work study. Back in 2011, I went to Harry Reid, Democratic leader, and he helped me get $150,000 to keep that work study alive. And why did he do that? Because I helped him with his airport. And don't lose sight of that. I am willing to work with the other side when it makes sense. I think Russell Fry, your congressman here, has got an unlimited future. And what I like about him, he's a strong conservative, but he does not forget his backyard. As long as you have that attitude, I think you can do well.
Not too long ago, your party said working with the other side was a no-go.
Well, I think AOC and these people are saying if you work with Trump, we're going to kick you out. You know, I've never seen so much animosity directed at President Trump, trying to destroy his life all the time. The Democratic Party is off in a ditch. The Republican Party is growing and thriving. We want to keep it that way. It's okay to work for the other side for the common good. When they're doing, I think, bad things for the country, I'll fight them. When they're trying to find a way to fix problems, I'll try to help them. But right now, America is got to make some hard decisions here. We got a debt problem we need to fix. We made a down payment in this bill of $1.6 trillion over a decade. We got to do more with $37 trillion in debt, and you have to do that in a way still to grow your economy and invest in jobs and health care and all that good stuff. So we will do both.
Senator, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Incredible.
Hope you had a great summer.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. I'll be back when it gets